I never had a male figure in my life, I would say. I was very much brought up with women. My mom is absolutely amazing, but there's a role that a man takes in place of a child. And that's one thing that she wasn't able to fulfill. I seeked after that in my relationship with men. They were the closest male figures for me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Love Exposed. My name is Pearl, and today we've got here with us my sister, my lovely baby girl, Lois. So, Lois, why don't you tell us a bit about why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Like, who are you? What do you do? And the
Yeah, so my name is Lois. I currently live in Telford. I work at Birmingham University as a recruitment partner, looking at the graduate kind of side of things, and I play quite an active role at church. So I'm an assistant youth leader for my local, a district secretary, and part of the area executive in terms of the youth
wow,
side. I'm part of Virtuous Ladies for the Women Ministry. I am a
amazing.
deaconess as well,
Oh,
a new appointed deaconess. So
we
I'm
got
still
a
in
deaconess,
training for
guys.
that.
You need to tell us what a deaconess is because some of our viewers may not know what that is. So, would you like to explain what that is, my love?
Yes, yes. So, obviously in the Bible, we understand that there are different roles people play in church.
Mhm.
So a deaconess, is also known, can be the same as a deacon basically, but more of a women version. A deacon is a male and a deaconess is a female. So we tend to ensure that, the Lord's Supper is prepared for everyone in service. So you come in early, there's prayers that's involved in that before anyone takes on the Lord's Supper, ensuring that the church is looking quite in a clean state as well. Helping with the offering, helping with the first lady, which in our culture we call Sofomame, in terms of any duties that needs to be done, helping with the women ministry leaders as well. So kind of and also being like a prayer force in the women ministry.
Okay.
So when women meet together, praying, enforcing, helping the other ladies in church, just being there as a helper, basically. That's some of the duties as well. Sometimes you might lead sessions, worship, you might lead worship, especially during the Lord's Supper. Um, and yeah, and then normally when we have bigger events as well, deaconesses are
Mm.
around to help out. So when we're doing prayers, you are around the person to ensure that there's covering around them if they fall and under the anointing of God.
Yeah.
And just ensuring that there's that safetyness around the church really. But
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
there's more
It's
to it, but
interesting.
I'll break into that.
I was just going to say, it's interesting how you mentioned helping a lot. That's
Yeah.
associated with the role of being a deaconess. And it just reminded me of, like as women, we're created to be helpers. So
Yeah,
amazing. I'm glad you're enjoying it, I'm assuming.
I am. I
Brilliant.
am enjoying it.
Brilliant. We love to hear that. We love to hear that. Amazing. So the first question I've got here for you, Lois, is where did you get your identity, security, and happiness from before Christ?
I would say I got it from relationships, having
Mm,
relationship with boys. Not to say I did anything, but I think I got that from them purely because I wanted love. I
mm,
wanted to fill my life with someone who was stable in my life or had stability or was not going to abandon me or,
okay.
that kind of stableness. And I'll say like I seek those kind of things from my relationship, which is purely in voice because at that time I was a younger. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll say voice.
That's really interesting. That you mentioned boys in particular and finding safety in that. Would you say, and you don't have to go through, you don't have to comment on this if you're not comfortable, but would you say
Yeah.
it's because as a result of something that you were missing in your life at the moment that maybe a male could only provide? Because I know your mom. Your mom is, oh, your mom's my mom at this rate. Shout out to Lois's mama. Thank you so much for all the feed. But no, so would you say it's as a result of not having like a male figure necessarily in your life? Is that why you sought
Yeah,
these things from?
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Because from like I was born in Ghana, so
Mm.
from the longest, like my dad was in abroad when I was born. He'll
Okay.
come and visit here and there,
Mm.
just so that he can like provide for us really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never had a male figure in my life, I would say. I was very much brought up with women.
Mm.
Yeah, my mom is absolutely amazing, but there's a role that a man takes in place of a child,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that she wasn't able to fulfill. So I think
Mm.
I seeked after that in my relationship with men or
Yeah.
boys actually, because they were the closest male figures for me, and
Mm.
that's where I seeked it, which I can't blame my dad because he
Yeah.
did what he could. But I think, and also I didn't know God. So um
Mm.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
would say definitely that changed my whole view on male relationships. Like I literally seek that from those relationships because my dad wasn't around really. And yeah.
That is so interesting. And like I feel like especially in this day and age, we underestimate the importance of the father figure, like like the
Yep.
role of a father. And
Yep.
it's so sad, but it's very, very important. It's very, very, very important. Because like you said, you ended up, seeking after this from the next best guy that you probably
Yeah.
saw walking across the street. But oh,
Exactly.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited because obviously we talk more about how now your father's daughter, but we'll get there. Let me not get ahead of myself here. So the follow-up question to that question is, were you able to find what you're looking for from these relationships that you saw after these guys?
No. When I
Mm,
look back, I thought I did, but I didn't
yeah.
because one thing about me was I knew that the relationship I went into, the end goal was marriage. That was one thing that was so, I don't know where I got this from, but when I was in a relationship, I was letting the person know that we are here till married. And I was like 13. So that was kind of my mindset.
Mm,
And I knew that because I wanted a long-lasting, stable relationship.
yeah.
So I didn't because all the guys I dated, like it was 3 years and then we'll part,
Mm,
literally, or 2 years, and they were never short 6 months. No, I could never do
okay.
that. So
Mm,
when I look back, no, I didn't. I think I just seeked attention. I seek someone to love me. I seek someone to embrace me. I seek someone to show me love.
yeah.
I seek someone who could be a figure in my life where I can speak to, tell them my feelings. If someone hurt me or someone made me upset, I can just let them know, and they'll kind of handle it like, oh, who's talking to my girl, who's trying to make my girl upset, and that
Yeah.
made me happy because I'm like, oh, they sticking up for me, a male figure sticking up for me. So no, I don't think I did. I definitely didn't. I think, but for some reason, I genuinely knew that if you get in a relationship, you're looking at marriage. And I don't know why I thought like
Mm,
that. I knew that was precious.
yeah.
If you
Yeah.
leave me, I remember whenever I did not, like me and the guy didn't work or something, I used to be like, you're gonna miss me, you're gonna regret it. Because for some reason, I just knew that I was so precious. I don't know why. There was just this thing in me where I knew that I was so precious that you're going to lose out. And every time I said it, it always came back like, oh, Lois. And I told you, but I'm not coming back. And it's like there was some value I had for myself.
Mm,
But at the same time, I just seeked in the wrong places when I think about it. But yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. But no, yeah, I was gonna say that I'm so sorry, but regardless of what people say, women, we love attention, especially from the right
Yep.
people. Okay, we
Yep.
love the attention. So
Yep.
I can't blame you. It's
Yep.
innate. I honestly believe it's innate. But anyways, so next question. What were your opinions about Christ? So was there something in particular that was preventing you from getting to know him more? Had you heard about him before? Were you curious about him? So this is BC, but you
Yeah.
probably like grew up in the church. So yeah, take us through that. Take us through that.
Yeah, so like I said, I was born in Ghana. So my
Yeah.
mom was quite like, we'll go to. So I used to be a Roman Catholic,
Oh, okay.
and we also understand that where I'm from is Cape Coast, and we understand the slave trade, everything.
So let's
Roman
just give a
Catholics
shout
became.
out. Shout out to Cape Coast. Shout out to Central Region babes. Sorry, sorry.
So so I went to a Roman Catholic kind of church,
Mm,
the normal hymns and stuff. So as a little kid, I don't think I was very much understanding. However, one of my family member was a Hindu, but that was a religion that was very much like I loved their stories, and I used to go to their temple and stuff. So I think I was very interested in the Hindu religion rather than
mm,
the Christianity religion. When I look back, I was very engaged in that rather than going to church. Like I didn't really bother. And then the
mm.
school I went to was a Roman Catholic church, so you have your rose like beads.
Rosary, yeah.
You have to do
Mm,
it. There's that book they give you. So my mom tried to bless her. She tried to put me around as much as I can hear about Jesus and God, but I was never into it. I didn't really know anything. She taught me about prayers, like you wake up, you have to pray, thank God for your life, that kind of thing. But I will never say I really got to know God.
mm,
Um, and then we moved to we move abroad and we kind of split and splitting thinking of someone taking you to church all the time and then you split and then now you don't go to church anymore. So
okay.
there was a period of my life where I didn't go to church. I don't think I even thought about God or Jesus.
Mm,
No one, Holy Spirit, nothing. Like that was not in me. Um, I moved quite a lot. I know one of my family members was thinking of becoming a Muslim, and I was like, oh, So I feel like I've experienced different religion where I could have
mm,
converted,
mm,
but for some reason we didn't end up converting. And I still didn't know God. Literally, I went to another Roman Catholic church in North London with my grandma, but it
mm,
was just like wake up and go. You get ready and you go to church. It was nothing and nothing. I'm learning from there. So you go. Half the time I'll be sleeping,
mm.
um, and yeah. So that was from year 4 to year 9 in
That is
London.
so
Not
interesting.
knowing anything about God. I didn't know to pray. I didn't know to pray on my food. I didn't know to pray before I slept.
Yeah.
Apart from that, that was it. And that does not mean I knew God because I was just praying because my mom taught me, and that's it. So,
A lot of
and
us
I
can
didn't,
relate. A lot of us can
yeah,
relate
I
to that.
didn't, literally, I didn't think I wanted to know who he is. Like,
Mm,
and I feel like my life was just very crazy when I
mm,
moved. Like I moved quite a lot. I went through a lot of pain and abandonment and all that. So I just felt like I was just by myself in this
yeah.
country. So to me, no, I didn't seek God. I
Mhm.
didn't think of God. I didn't. But sometimes there would be that occasion like, oh God, where are you in this situation? When like I'll cry or I'll be
Mm,
like, why did I deserve to be in this? Like I was having the best time in my life in Ghana. Why do I need to come to this UK and suffer? But
mhm.
then that's the only conversation I'll have and then just keep it pushing. So
Wow.
definitely do know God at all.
You know what?
At
That's really
all.
interesting. That's really interesting because knowing you now, I don't know why I thought you were probably saved from the womb or something. Like knowing like the fire that you have inside, especially for young people now, it's all starting to make
Yeah.
sense. And yeah, I can definitely relate to you and with you because in Ghana as well, I was born in Ghana. I remember I lived in the northern part of Ghana for a while. And like obviously you and like your friends, like growing up, you'd the predominantly Muslim people in northern region. So like growing
Mhm.
up, go to the mosque, like to the mosque together. We'll perform ablution. We'll go to like mosque Sunday school, and like growing up, you kind of they taught you as well that it's the same God.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like I think I moved here and I was like, wait a minute. So yeah, it's but him. I honestly could have sworn that you were saved from the womb. But anyways, again, let me know. Give spoilers. But that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Lois.
Yeah.
So the next section of this interview, Lois, is life coming to Christ. So we'll start off with when was the first time you heard the gospel, and if you've always heard it, when did you start paying attention to it?
So I would say that moving to Telford. I
Mm.
don't know why I moved to Telford. I don't know where my mom found Telford, but I believe when I look back,
Mm.
is it was a place where God came to say, "You're coming here, and I'm going to restore you," because
Mm.
and allow me to know you. So when I came to Telford, I was in a shock kind of thing. So like I moved around year 10, and my mom attended quite different churches actually. So she was also trying to find her feet, but then she ended up going to Pentecostal Church of Pentecost, and
That's
it
powerful.
was quite good here in Telford. And there was like an English service and then a tree service.
Mm.
And so where we lived before, um, the presiding elder, so the person who used to look after the church at the PIWC, which is the English service, lived literally across the road. So he said, "Oh, hi, look, my daughter's here from London. I would like her to come to church." I was like, "Mom, like, I don't do church. Like, my Sundays are to chill, to watch movies." And she said, "No, you're going church. And you
Mm.
know, when you have an African meal, you're going church." I said, "Okay, cool." So I went to church and I just didn't listen. I was just like, "Why am I here?" kind of thing. Um, so I was in church and then I left church because I wasn't really like, I didn't understand. I just didn't want to be in that around anyone. I feel like also I was angry to move because I was transitioning, I was leaving my friends, another movement in my life. Like I hated it. I felt like I was
Mm.
stable. Now I'm moving
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So I was just in a lot of anger. I wanted to just have fun. And then I remember I was walking in town, so our town centre, and one of you've Angel's sister Pamela, so she had seen me at the English service, and she was going to say, "Hey, like I saw you in church, but I haven't seen you in forever. What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, like I'm not feeling it. Like I don't know anyone." She was like, "Come, come, come, come," and I felt like it was a evangelism right there and there. Like she
Yeah.
really like spoke to me, and I think she's part of my journey. She probably
Wow.
doesn't know this, but I'll forever remember that. And I was just like, you know what, I'll try again. And then I
Mm.
went, but I still was not like I didn't feel a community. I didn't feel like I belonged there. I didn't really know the word. They were speaking about all these stuff. And I
Mm.
just didn't know. But then I ended up getting into a relationship in
Yeah.
Telford. That became a whole priority for me.
Mm.
And in that relationship, I would say that it was just a very lustful relationship. It wasn't serious. I don't think it was serious. I thought I was in love, but it was in love, respectfully for the person as well. I think I
Hello.
was young. I was young. We both probably don't know what was happening. And I remember I went to church. There was this service and it was talking about repentance and speaking on like sins and stuff we shouldn't be doing as Christians. How can you be at church and doing this and all that? And they did an altar call, and I didn't know what an altar call was. And I was very burdened to go up there and just give my life to God. I don't know why. I was breaking down whilst the preaching was going on. And then they
Mm.
told me, like, they said, if you want to give your life to God or you want to like rededicate your life, just come in front. And there was a strong burden. I was like, go. And then I ended up going and I was just crying in front. I was just crying so much. I don't even know what I was crying for, but I
Mm.
just knew that I was in sin. Like I was in so much sin. I didn't know God. I didn't know anything. I think that was my first encounter of the word. And that was the first encounter of me thinking I was rededicating myself was because I think I did rededication of my life like 10, 20 times. But I felt like, yeah, that was the first encounter of the word that really hit me on a different level. For some reason as well, I think because I also started making friends around Telford, it kind of helped me to understand that, you know, sin is wrong, what you're doing is wrong, and all these stuff. For some reason, the back of my head, I knew was wrong, but it didn't convict me. It wasn't a conviction. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, yeah, whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, so that was when I gave my life to God. And I remember after I sat there and I was crying loads, and then this person who I was dating, who was in church, came in. I think he knew. He was just like, "You don't want to be in this relationship anymore, do you?" And I was just like, "No."
Mm.
Like I don't know how he knew straight away because I think also he had a relationship with God, but I didn't. And I think he probably saw the signs of me just drifting away. And I was just like, it's just complicated. We became very complicated after that. Nothing went smoothly.
Mm.
And then after that, I just wanted to, but then after that, I just didn't seek that information anymore. I just went out with life. I said, oh,
Yeah.
I've repented,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just kept on carrying on. I kept on carrying on my relationship with him, but nothing was going right in that relationship. Just kept on doing things, going to youth meetings, still don't understand much of things. Um, and I'll say I thought that, yes, that was my first time I got to know the word and repented.
Yeah.
But in terms of my true repentance was when I was 19. So when I got the word or received the word where I repented the first time, I was like 16.
Mm.
So 16, 17, 18, 19, 3 years later was my true understanding of what repentance was and
Wow.
having a real encounter with God. And I remember this very much because at this time I was still trying to know God. I didn't even have a Bible. So that ex was like doing Bible studies with me, helping me read the Bible.
Mm.
Um, and my youth leader, Rachel, she would kind of like force me to do something. She'll say, Lois, could you do opening prayer? And I used to cry because I didn't even know how to pray. I'm not good at articulating my words. So I felt very nervous. And I just hated it. But
Mm.
then I decided I wanted to go to university. I think this was the biggest thing that this was my story. This is where my story began in terms of my encounter with God. So I finished sixth form, so I went to a school. I finished sixth form, and normally when you finish sixth form, you're meant to go into university. That's the next stage.
Yeah.
I applied for loads of universities to do social work because I did health and safety, and I was very interested in helping children, and in that kind of an area. And I feel like the reason why I probably did it as well because of my past in terms of moving houses and just that kind of area. So I applied and I got into all my universities. Now they gave us a chance to help us with our student finance. I did my student finance and it came back saying I wasn't eligible to apply for student finance. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean
Yeah.
I'm not eligible? Like I finished all this. This is like, I feel like university in African culture is like the end goal in success in life.
Yeah.
So then I started feeling like, oh my God, what do you mean I can't go to university? I came to my mom. She was also confused. We seeked advice and
Mm.
we found out that because the visa I was on didn't actually, I didn't even find out then. They still said I can go. I just need to apply. So I applied again and I gave as much evidence as I can. Anyone who's been through that process understand how tiring that is.
Oh, yeah.
So I gave all the evidence and I decided to go to the University of Leicester, which is a really good university, as you know. Then I decided to do sociology, which will broaden everything up so that I can do what I want to do. So I went to buy all my stuff, not even realizing that actually I need student finance. I just thought, things something will happen, things
Mm.
will go through, it's fine. And at this time, I've been rededicating my life constantly at church. Whenever they do the altar call, I was
As you
doing it
do.
constantly. It became like I won't be surprised if they said that someone would be like, Lois will be coming up. Like I would do it. So I was kind of like trying to understand God in that aspect. So at this time I applied, bought everything, went shopping, got to University of Leicester. This time I'm also in a new relationship, kind of speaking to someone, new relationship. And I got to Leicester. And then to be honest, my thing is I wanted to go uni for uni experience. I wanted to
That's
understand
me,
the
man.
experience. People were saying fresh this year.
That's
I
me.
am here to enjoy. I went to clubbing. I don't really drink. For some reason, drinking has never been a part and parcel of me. Like when I was in London, like my grandma would buy me like WKD or something. Like there's really nothing in it. But
Wow.
and bear in mind, my family they drink, not in a bad way. It's just they can drink. They hold how They know how to hold their gin, their brandy, their everything. But for some reason, alcohol has never been like something I was like, oh my God, I want to do. So when people wanted to go on high and pre-drink, I was just like, I can have fun without having alcohol. Like I just felt like that was something that for some reason I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was just go out and for some reason, one thing I realized was I was very attached to bashment music. For some reason, whenever I heard
You all had a
bashment,
phase.
something would happen in my body.
You all had a phase.
I don't know. So I wanted to go and enjoy. And bear in mind, I was just enjoying university without even understanding what's happening with my student finance. So at university, at Leicester, I ended up moving to another accommodation that would be closer to my university. So I moved, and where I moved, there was a girl who was a pastor's daughter, and she was not onto the going out and stuff like that. So that was absolutely fine. I got to know her. She was black. I loved that. She kind of like encouraged me to go to church with her. So we went to church, which was really good. We went to Caucasian church. So it was very like Hillsongs kind of vibe. And I'm coming from a Pentecostal, which is very like, praise the
Start,
Lord. And they're like,
start
they,
different.
fast paced. And then this Hillsong is very
Yeah.
chilled and mellow.
Mm.
Um, so in that space, I found out that I didn't get student finance again. And at this time, university are writing me letters like, we haven't received your tuition. My accommodation is saying like, okay, we've given you enough time. When is the money dropping? And I realized, flip, like I am in deep trouble. So I went to seek this like funding people in university, and they gave me some money to live on whilst I was waiting for my university. I went back to seek again, and this man was just like, you've come back again. What's actually the situation? So I explained the whole situation. He said, okay, that makes sense. You should be able to receive student finance. He applied, he wrote letters, sealed it with the university's like stamp to say it's official. They came back to us saying, no, she doesn't. She hasn't spent enough time on her visa to be able to be eligible for this visa. I mean, for this student finance, I said, what? And then I have to go. And now I'm owing university half a term fees and accommodation fee, and also owing the university because they gave me money to live on whilst there. So I
Right.
was on like 10 grand debt. I literally was. I was in 10 grand debt. And
My
at that
goodness.
time, I don't know. And also because I'd opened a student overdraft, like I was using my student overdraft to
That's so
massively as
funny.
well, you know.
You realized
Um,
it's student overdraft.
yeah, student overdraft, they don't tell you it's really not your money, but I thought it's my money, and I was
Yeah.
like, God, like, I literally said to God, how can you embarrass me, come to university and take me back to Telford? Like, do you know how embarrassing it is? Do you know what people be saying? Like, it's a Ghanaian culture. Like, let's be honest, university is the end goal for every
It
parent.
is.
So for me, I also thought about how people perceive my mom and my dad and all that.
They can't brag that
And
my daughter's at uni.
I
They
can't
can't
brag, they can't brag, do you know where I'm
explain.
coming
Hey.
from? And it was really hard. And this guy was just like, no, like, you're actually a lovely person. And then he wrote to the university. I don't know what he wrote in the letter. I don't know what, but they came back and said, we have cancelled, like, we have like every debt you have of us, don't worry, is disappeared. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did. It was just by the grace. I literally feel like he was like my guardian angel, because
Wow.
I don't know what he wrote, what he wrote, but he literally allowed everything to disappear. I left that university with no debt
Wow.
at all, no debt at all.
Wow.
Do you
It's
know,
okay,
whilst I'm even
you
speaking,
know.
literally, even whilst I'm speaking, what just came to me was just the fact that Jesus came to pay for my debt, my sins, and I left with no
That's
debt.
part of
And
the
I
debt.
went to university. Yep. And I left
Wow.
with no debt. That I
That's
didn't really
amazing.
deep. And whilst I'm speaking about it, that really grabbed me. Even the
Yeah,
fact that
that's
he
amazing.
was there, he was literally there, and I didn't even realize it.
Wow.
So for some reason, he really went above and beyond. Like he researched, he did everything. He was up and down for me, and because he saw how much I wanted to go to university, and I think that's when I start really identifying what I needed in a guy, like someone who will
Mm.
push me to that level. So I came home, he helped me come back home, and I was crying. I was heartbroken because I was like, God, like I didn't even realize that that debt has been cleared. I was just thinking, God, how can you embarrass me to come back to this country, this town? People are gonna say there is so much gossip about me, or she's come back because she's pregnant, she's back come back because she failed, all these gossips around me. And I knew it would hurt my mom. And you know how my mom is, she's such an emotional person, she's just a sweet being. And I just didn't want that on her. So I came and I didn't want to go to church. But then I was like, one of my friend's mom was just like, don't listen to anyone says, you know the truth, come to church still and stuff. So then I ended up coming to Telford for a year. And I believe that was the year God really wanted me to really focus on Him, because it was the year where I would have turned 19 and I would have really sought God. So I came back, went back to my sixth form. They said I could do work experience as a teaching assistant if I want to go into social work. And I started going church. Yeah, I started going church, and I was just like, who's this God people are talking about? Because clearly this God has embarrassed me to come back to this town. You know, how can you allow me to go to a place and come back with debts and stuff like that? And I was just like, I really want to know this God. And at this time, I was really getting close to Rachel. So she was really pushing me in terms of prayer, church, and everything. And I remember it was this period where I came where they were doing like a church convention for a week. And around that time, everyone's come back from university, and I was 19, and I think if I was turning 19, I was 19. And I was trying to understand God. I was trying to seek God, and I was praying, praying, praying. I was like, God, who are you? Who are you? Who is this God people are talking about? I was praying, praying, praying. I had a burden. I really wanted to seek Him. I'll pray in my room. I would start reading my Bible. I was fasting to understand who this God is. And during this intervention, they also spoke about tongue speaking, and I didn't understand what it meant, because before I used to listen to people's tongues and I thought, I was just like, what is this? Like, what is this language?
Yeah.
Um, and I just had the burden to really know Him. For some reason, it was like I was captured to sit still and really know who God was and God is. And I remember I said to God, I really want to get baptized. So in Roman Catholic, you are immersion, or I don't know what it's called. Like it's just a baby pour water. That's not really baptism. I thought I
So
was
like
baptized,
dedication.
but my dad didn't want me to get baptized in Church of Pentecost. But I was very adamant that come hook or crook, I'll get baptized
Yeah.
during the season. So I went to prayer service. It was a morning prayer service, and I was praying. I said, God, I really want to see your power in my life. I want the spirit of baptism to pour upon me. I want to speak. I want to know you. I was just saying all this. I was crying, absolutely crying to understand who God is. And I feel like when people say, oh, crying or feeling, it's not a feeling. It's like the yearning of God, the yearning of His love, the
Yeah.
yearning, and you know His presence around you that is so overwhelming that you just can't contain yourself. And that was the period the Spirit of God was just around me. And one of the elders laid hand on me, and I started speaking in tongues straight away. And then
Oh,
the next day I said, yep, I'm going to get baptized straight away, baptism straight away. So that's when I would say my first encounter and my journey began at the age of 19. At this time I decided I was so on fire. I think, when you're born again Christian, baby Christian, you will
you want to fight the
eagerly do
devil?
everything. Literally, I
Yeah.
was shaming people,
Yeah.
looking at people, judgment. Oh, you can't
Oh,
be doing this. That was
oh.
me. I cleaned up my music. Apple
Yeah.
Music, deleted all my stuff. Like I was
Yeah.
deleting it, but then I was still allowing certain music to be in off the world, because I thought, oh, that's okay. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And that was my journey. It's made me who I am. Um, so yeah, I'll say that was when I really encountered God. That was when I really understood how God spoke to me. I'm a dreamer, and I realized that's where God spoke to me the most.
Okay.
I think because He understood how I could be so chaotic, and He needed me to be in a peaceful moment, and that's where He will speak to me the most. I think that was the beginning of God's hands in my life, really. And yeah.
That's really interesting. Like as you were sharing that, I couldn't help but think how long suffering God is. Like he'll wait for you. Like he'll put you in certain, or he'll allow you to go into certain situations. He'll bring certain people your way to try and like nudge you, to try and, nudge you
Mm-hmm.
to, give him attention, acknowledge him, but he will never force himself. Like he will wait.
No.
Like, he'll give you all the,
Yep.
I honestly believe that God knows us more than we could ever know ourselves. And he knows
Yep.
exactly how to get to each and every single person. And there's a
Yep.
verse in the Bible that says that God doesn't want anyone to perish. So I know, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know where this is coming from, but I believe
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly that God will reach everyone in a way that they can't shake off. And I love
Yep.
that. Like he gave you all these nudges, and like he allowed you to come and meet him. He was waiting for
Yep.
you. So at
Yep.
that prayer conference, like
Yeah.
you met you he was there waiting and you met him. And like
Yeah.
I love that you use the word yearn, because it's a
Yeah.
deep, like unexplainable, yearning for him. And then he was like, yes, okay, this girl has she said yes to me now, so I'm gonna come in.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's such an
Yeah.
amazing story. That is an amazing
Yeah, I
testimony.
think
Thank
it's
you
just
so
an
much.
acceptance
Yeah.
because I think some religion you are
Mm,
forced into it. You
yes,
have to
yes,
like,
yeah.
but I think the beautiful thing about our religion is just the fact that he won't force you.
No.
He's not going to like, you know, like you, it's a process. It's
Mm,
a process for you to meet him. It's a
yeah.
process, you are preparing yourself to meet him. He's preparing you.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like that scripture in is it the 10 virgins?
10
No,
virgins.
the 10 bridesmaids,
Bridesmaids. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and how they had to prepare. Some were not prepared and
Yeah.
some were prepared. And for me, it was just like I had to go through all that because now when I look back, as some people encounter God differently, and that's why everyone's journey is
Different.
different. Your
Definitely.
journey was this, and someone you might look and be like, "Oh, you can do it," but then that's what God is kind of strange. Like, if they're doing your bit, we just need a community that supports people in that journey and not condemn and not
Mm.
judge, but really embrace them with love. And I think that's where it's so beautiful about the love of God, because in our religion, it's not about condemnation, it's about embracing people with love. We know you are sinning, we've sinned, we'll still
Yeah.
probably
No.
still sin. And, God embraces us still. So that's one thing I love about being a Christian,
Mhm.
being a child of God, because it gives you that understanding that, He's there patiently waiting, and that's it.
You know what? I can't stress enough how good, like how patient, like when you do something, yeah, and you
Mm-hmm.
know that like your parent will smack you. Sometimes, like when I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes consciously, knowingly sin, I want to go to God, and I want God to like, what's the word? Discipline me. But sometimes
Yeah,
he doesn't do it straight away, and I'm just like, oh, like God, like hit me, or I don't know,
just do
do something.
it.
Do something. But then I'll just hear the Holy Spirit inside of me just say, I love you, daughter. You're just like, that's not what I want to
You love me
hear.
in this. How can you
He's
love me in this sin? Do something.
I know. Yeah, he's so, and again, that's why I love like having a relationship with God. You get to know who he is. You get to understand him, draw closer to him. And I love that. I love that for you, Lois. I'm honestly so grateful that you is that health lost another one. Health lost another one. Oh, I am free. We are free. But no, I love that. I love that. We bless God. Honestly, we thank
We
God for
really
that.
bless God.
So moving on to the last section. First question is, can you share with us some of the practical steps you've taken, which has helped you develop your relationship with God?
Yeah, so one thing is having the same like-minded people around you who are
Mm,
yearning for God. I
mm,
feel like one thing that has helped me and is still helping me is having that community, people that will push you in your walk with God when you are down, people that you fast with, people that you pray with, people
yeah.
that you help seek the word with. I think that really helps you. It's like saying, "Oh, I want to stop drinking alcohol," and then you're still around alcoholics. Like that's really not going to really. So really setting yourself apart, literally meaning splitting yourself from what you used to do and really finding that community of people who have the same ambition, the same goal, which is to really have that walk with God, that relationship with God. That has really helped me. I would say being active in church has really helped me to fill my life. So before, I would just not have anything to do on Saturdays, so I would want to do something out worldly, or I didn't really go clubbing like that, but it was like I wanted to be in church. I wanted to soak in everything, if it's to do with youth, if it's to do with cleaning, anything, soak it in, because then you are occupying your life with things. So for example, if before you were chilling with your guy, so that's what I would be doing during my weekends, chilling with my guy, which would have been my ex, which I would have fallen into sin. Now I have filled that day to not chilling with my guy. I'll be in church because that was more important to me. Um, that has really benefited me in that sense. I would say also spending quality time with God, and sometimes it's up and down. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But really setting a time apart and saying, God, I want to meet you at this time.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we say it, we, even whilst I'm even talking to myself, we forget and we do our thing. But God, you've set a time with God. It's like booking an appointment with God. Say, God, I want to meet you at this time.
Yeah.
And you really spend time in praying and listening to what the Holy Spirit is saying to you. Really, really helps. Fasting has been one of the major things that I've been doing this year that has really opened my eyes to different things. Not because I didn't know how to fast, it's just the understanding of fast wasn't to starve yourself. Um, to fast is to fill in those things with the word, even at work, like what you're listening to, what you're saying, your lifestyle, everything. It's not just because you're skipping food, but it's just literally soaking in the word. That's the time to soak it in more, because that's when the enemy attacks the most.
Yeah.
So really understanding that level and really helped me in that area. And also, yeah, I would say prayer. I'm in so much different groups, which has allowed me to really build on my capacity. We have travail in Telford, where we are travailing for Telford, praying for this land. And the people I'm with has built on my capacity, where we're doing 10 to 2 prayers before it's 10 to 6, 10 to 7. I could not do that. I was half asleep back in the day, but now I am able to build on that capacity. I'm on fire even more.
Mm.
So yeah, and also just being involved in church, and yeah, but I'll say one of the biggest thing for me is having that community, that friends that has pushed me, has been one of the great things that's happened for me.
That's amazing. Definitely, community is very, very, very important. And I love
Hmm.
the analogy of, if you want to stop drinking, why would you hang around drunkards?
Hmm.
Like, oh,
Hmm.
I remember what I was going to say. So when you were saying that, it reminded me of this verse in the Bible. I think it's in Revelations where God says, "Get out of her, my people, for when I'm
Mm.
destroying them, I'll destroy you."
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's very,
Hmm.
very, it's very, very good that you said that. Like if you want to stop something, you need to remove that thing away, because you're asking, it's like scooping fire and putting it on your laps and expecting it to just
Yeah,
soothe you. No, it's gonna burn you. You're gonna go
yeah,
back into your
yeah.
addiction or your
Old
struggle. So
ways, definitely.
amazing, amazing. Definitely community. Like even Jesus had community. Jesus had his 12
Yep,
disciples. Like
yep.
who are you to think
Say
you've
you
got
could
it
do
all
this
and
by
do it
yourself.
yourself?
No,
And
you can't do this by yourself. And
exactly.
I'll say one thing that also helped was that even though I like my friendship group changed massively, I
Mm.
still had friends who, even though it changed, they were still supportive of my journey. They knew that I wanted to go somewhere, so they never stopped me. And
Amazing.
that showed to me that they were also on their journey as well. So even if we're not as close as how we were, they were still supportive of where I was trying to go. So that showed me the importance of, you can't do this by your own. Like,
I love that.
we as Christians, we can't. I think one thing that the devil tries to do is keep us isolated from
Yes.
people.
Oh,
That's where he attacks the most and really blinds you, because the moment you're isolated, you feel lonely, you feel abandoned, you feel like God is not speaking to you, fall into sin and everything. But the moment 2 or 3 people gather, that's why he said when 2 or 3 people are gathered, that meant that you need to be with people, you need to be in communion with people. And I feel like that to me is one of the most powerful things as a Christian, which will help
definitely.
your accountability. When I
Oh,
was trying not to fall into lust or anything, I would tell my friends, call me every 5 to 1 minute, even 10 seconds when this person's around, because
mhm.
I need to ensure that someone was there to keep me accountable. And those are the people you need in your life. And it shows you who people are as well. So yeah, that's what I
I
wanted
love
to say.
that. 100%, Lois. 100%. Even with the whole community thing, even if you look at the body of Christ, like look at a body. The head cannot like go and say, I want to be by myself. The eye cannot be like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
want I want to be by myself. It takes the
Mm-hmm.
whole body to function properly. So,
Yep.
it just elaborates, it explains how we kind of need to work together as the body of Christ to function the way
Yeah.
that Christ wants us to function. So
Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much for that. Next question is, what motivates you now in terms of being intentional with the faith? And even though you're not perfect now, how does knowing Jesus help you deal with this?
For me, it's having the burden for the youth,
Yes.
the generation with, I think
Mm,
I had that burden. That's why I was calling to the youth ministry. If I
yeah.
didn't have that burden, that would never have been. Also, having the burden of Telford, I was placed here for a reason, you know.
God dragged you
I
back from
feel
Leicester. I'm joking about that, God, but yeah.
literally,
Sorry, go
like, I feel like
on.
where people are placed, I think you're not just placed there because you went to university there, or, you moved there. There's reasons why you're placed for a reason. So having the burden for the youth makes me realize that I can't give up.
Mm,
Because if I'm giving up on a generation. Yes, God can raise other people to help in that area, but once the burden's been given to you, you have to keep pushing. There are times where sometimes the youth could do so many things. And I used to like, I'll just be like, you guys don't understand. Like, to the point where now I understand that I also need to take care of myself to be able to take care of, help them, and take them. God is taking care of them, that's fine. But to be able to be used as a vessel to empty and for God to use me, I need to take care of myself and my relationship with God. So to me, that really pushes me going. And it's beautiful because this year has been a crazy year for my youth. And um when I watch them do things now, I literally cry inside, like little teardrop, because you've seen people who were not able to do something, or they were not confident, or they were not this, and you've had conversations, and you've had that personal conversations with people, or the 3 a.m. calls, or walking to work
wow.
calls, and checking ins and calling this person, and you see their growth and their journey, and it's so beautiful. And you're thinking like, God, thank you for using me to do your work. Is for your glory, and it's actually so beautiful. And I think there's been times where I'm like, God, I'm leaving. And he'll be like, who told you that you are leaving? He will literally,
On
Spirit of
people.
God will be like, girl, you are not going anywhere. Unless I have released you from that contract, you're not going anywhere. And it shows to me how much he wants to keep using me.
Yeah,
And also,
definitely.
um, like praying on behalf, like praying on this territory in Telford is a burden that he has also given me. He's shown me dreams,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because it just shows me that we are in a land where we have to pray on, and that keeps me going. So
Mhm.
by knowing all these burdens in my heart, that means I need to be praying, because when you have a burden, the enemy will attack you the hardest. They know you have an assignment, and anything that they can use to kill that assignment, they would do. So praying, understanding your patterns, what's going on. I know that the
Ooh,
moment I have a sexual dream, I know that this is what's going to happen. Being aware of, I'm very aware of patterns.
you're
I'm very
preaching to
aware
me
of my
right now.
surroundings. I am so one thing I said, this is what's going to happen. I need to prepare, fasting,
Mm.
reading my word, spending time with God. And I need to get that pouring in so that when I go out, I can also pour out and allow God to pour out in what he needs to do. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
That's
I don't know what the
amazing.
next question was, but yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's wow. That's a burden and a half. But you know what? God
Yeah.
will give you the grace the favor,
Amen.
to be able to execute
Amen.
it exactly the way he wants you to. And girl, knowing you, it's amazing. It's amazing. You're doing great. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Amen. We
Amazing,
thank
sweetie.
God. We thank
Um,
God.
so I'm not sure if you touched on this, but the next one was even though you're not perfect now, how does knowing Jesus help you deal with this?
Um, I would say that understanding that he called me when I was not perfect
Mm,
is one of the things that humbles me, or he called me because I was perfect and equipped. No, he called me in my
that's
sinfulness, in
amazing.
not even understanding the word much, not praying as much as how other people's are praying. And I feel sometimes we tend to compare ourselves as Christians that, oh, because this person's praying this 10 times, God is using them most. And we see so much in the Bible where God has used people who were doing the most. Like we love our Apostle Paul, you know, we love him, you know, we see his life, we see what God did. And I think for me, it's really humbling when I know that I'm not perfect. He didn't call me because I'm perfect. There's been times when I felt like I need to be perfect enough to do this. And the Spirit of God would be like, but did I call you when you were perfect? You know, did I call you because you were equipped enough for the work? No, I didn't call you for that. I called you because you know why I called you. And for me, that really humbles me and really helps me. I
Yeah.
don't know what the question says. I feel like
No,
I've gone
that's
on to a tantrum kind of
no,
thing,
no, no,
but
that's amazing. That's
yeah, and I
amazing.
think it's just a relationship as well. Like that relationship is beautiful. You know, it's a two-way situation. So we talk, I cry, he listens, he shares, I cry more. He listens, I cry more. And then, okay, God, okay, I hear you. Or sometimes I'll be like speaking to myself. And yeah, so to me is understanding that we're not perfect. We
Yeah,
are not perfect.
you're right. No, that's an amazing answer that. Because sometimes just like, oh God, but then you know what? Similar to what he reminds you of, God always reminds me that listen, I knew you.
Mm-hmm.
I knew everything you do. I knew all the decisions you make. I knew all the choices you
Mm-hmm.
would make, but I still chose you and I chose to love
Mm-hmm.
you. And like God doesn't give his love in bits and bobs and drips and drops. Like he gives it all, knowing that his heart is
Mm-hmm.
going to be broken. He gives that
Yeah,
again and
yeah,
again and again and again. And
yeah. Yeah, like literally, who can do that for us? He brought his only son. Will a man bring their only thing to come and die for you? Hell no, that's not going to happen.
no.
He brought his perfect son to come and take upon everything, every single thing, so that and it's actually so when you think about it, it's actually so emotional. And when I say emotional, it's not like a feeling kind of thing, but it's emotional because it's such a beautiful love and perfect gift he's given us. It's just so beautiful. Like, wow, God, how beautiful are you? How much do you love me? Sometimes we don't believe he loves us, but when
Yeah,
you look at our life, we're like,
yeah,
he loves us so much. Like,
yeah.
so yeah.
It's crazy. And I was scrolling through Instagram as you do. And then I came across this post and it was like, the girl was saying, this is how much I knew God loved me was she was saying that during a season of time where she wasn't praying, she wasn't talking to God, like she wasn't even acknowledging God, God was paving a way. And so having someone that loves you regardless of the relationship you have with
Mm-hmm.
them at a certain point in time. It's just
Mm-hmm.
my hands out. I don't know. You
Definitely.
know what? That's why he's God. I'm not even gonna try and understand it because
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
give
you
myself
can't. You can't. I feel like
headache.
that's where sometimes people get it wrong when it comes to God is they think you have to do the prayers to receive something good from him. No,
Yeah.
it's not about that. It's really not. You know, God does know your heart. I know sometimes people use that line in the wrong way, like God knows my heart, so that means I could go into the well still. No. God
I
knows
work
your
like that,
heart. He
sweetheart.
sees literally
Yeah.
he's seen you do like an all night and then because you couldn't wake up early to do your devotional, he
Mm,
knows where you've been. He knows your yearning for him. And I think that's one thing I came to understand that me doing prayers to get something is
mm,
like oh, dad, I'll do chores and then I'll get a reward at the end. It's really not that. It's not that that is needed. And I think sometimes we get to misinterpret that a lot. Um,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's you know, when I started taking God seriously as well, like during my early years, I used to think, oh my gosh, I can't sin. Oh no, I can't sin. I was like, because I was expecting something from God, and I kept saying to myself, okay, I have
Mhm.
to be very good. Because if I sin, then God might not give it to me. So I have to. And now looking back, I'm just thinking, what a silly, silly girl. But hey, hey, don't,
It's
what's the
crazy.
saying? Don't something humble beginnings, you know?
Yeah, I get where you're coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
It's
don't,
funny
yeah.
because I agree because I remember when I became a born again Christian, I thought this was the time that I would never sin. I think that was one of the most sinful year I actually had because I used to think, oh, once you come to God, there's no attacks. I think that's one thing we need to kind of put into place that the moment you wake up is the moment the enemy knows this girl's eyes are open, so we're going to attack every left, right, forward. Like it says long suffering for a reason, you know? And I would say that that was the moment I said, wow, I sinned. Why? I thought this is a time. No, it's that's where you have to even be like a night owl, like watching.
Yeah.
But
And it makes sense because obviously the devil's seen that okay, you're now in the kingdom of light, so
yeah,
he's gonna shoot all the arrows that he has at you. So yeah, but we thank God for grace. We thank God for
we
strength.
thank
We
God.
thank God for
We thank
mercy.
you.
But I've got one last question for you. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have seen this question. It's a bit of a very
Oh,
nice question. So still trying to frame it in my head. You've spoken a lot about how active you are at church. You know, you're a deaconess, and you've said several times how much involved you are in the church. Now, I know that I've heard stories where a lot of people have become so involved in church that they only go to church just because they have to fulfill certain
mm,
roles, and also the whole thing about how some people um can become so involved that it becomes an ego thing. Like they kind of
mm,
demand certain
mm,
treatment. They kind of demand certain respect that it ends up not being about God. It ends up being
yeah,
about them. So
yeah,
how and it also like feeds their ego as well. Like it's like, oh,
mm,
the assistant this, so speak to me, and which is that that's due.
yeah, yeah,
Respect your elders,
yeah,
but how do you deal with not allowing yourself to be consumed by all of that? So yeah, how like and there may be someone out there that probably is struggling,
yeah,
not allowing the church thing, ministry
yeah,
in their head. So how have you dealt with that, and what advice would you give to other people that might be looking to deal with?
yeah, definitely. I think there's been times, I think sometimes when you're in ministry, you can kind of lose your way in
Yeah,
terms of it becomes work rather than being about God. I
yeah,
think the moment you notice that, and like I said, I'm very aware of myself and my surroundings and what is happening. So the moment that I notice that I am working and not is when I realize that my relationship with God is failing. And once I notice that, I know that I need to put a pause on ministry because at the end of the day, God could call me and be like, what was your personal relationship life when he comes? What are you gonna say? But God, I was like slaving away for your kingdom.
yeah,
No, well, it's a relationship. This our religion is a relationship with God. So for me, the moment I realized I'm overworking myself or um yeah, I would say more of the overworking because I'm so passionate in what I do that I do tend to overwork myself. And sometimes I'll tell my leaders I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to take a break.
mm,
I'm very honest in that level because if you're not, the burden God has given you, you miss where what it was in the beginning. You miss the direction what God is saying because the moment it then becomes very physical So
Mm,
then when God is speaking to you, you're not listening. You're just very tunnel minded on what you want to happen rather than what God wants to happen in what he wants you to do. So
yeah.
for me, I take breaks. I am a very good advocator on pause. And when I say pause, it doesn't mean pause ministry, but pause and go back into your secret room and pray and spend time with God, read the word, fast, understand what's going on.
Mm,
Also, one thing I've learned is it's okay to say no if
yeah.
it becomes a lot. So before I used to just yeah, 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 yeah. And then I start complaining. And I realized that the moment you start complaining, what do you want God to bless? You're complaining of something that they didn't force it onto you. So
Mm,
right now I've understood that I can say no, I don't have the capacity for this, but I have the capacity for this. I now understand when I'm taking on work is understanding that God wants me to do it or not. Very spiritual and discerning in that area. One thing I think for me, God has really helped me and humbled me is the fact that I don't see titles. And I know I have different titles in church, even deaconess. Even people around me have to say constantly because when I go places, I don't allow the title to define my relationship with God or where I am. So one thing that I think God has really helped or really graced me is the humbleness of not overstepping myself because I've been given this title. We are all humans at the end of the day, and you need to treat people with respect, regardless of whether you're a pastor or an elder or whatever. You need to treat people with respect. And for me, that's one thing I'm able to do. Like I am able to joke around with a 13-year-old and
mm,
also joke around with an older person. So that balance to me, I've mastered it so nicely that I don't see titles of where I am because, oh, I'm a youth leader. So I can know there's a way of speaking to people. It's a relationship you're building people. Understand that a lot of people leave church because of these situations of church hurt, because someone spoke to them in different ways. And that's something I've gone through where, someone might have spoken to me a different because they're a deaconess or an elder. So now I'm in this position. I am rectifying that and saying, if a youth comes to me, I'm going to speak to them in a way that they understand we have a relationship. And for me, that I've never overstepped that area. I'm very transparent, so I've never ever stepped that area. And if I do, sometimes I tell my friends, like, let me know if I ever overstep, because sometimes you can overdo something, and that's when you're out of the flesh, out of the spirit, you're in your flesh. So I thank God for giving me that humbleness to never overstep. But anyone who is in that area, sometimes you need to pause and go back to the root of why you started this in the first place.
mm,
Because sometimes you can't lose your way around
definitely,
things. You
definitely.
really can. And I think even Travail, like we are a group of people. This was birthed into for someone to for all of us to come it together, right? To help. And even that, I even sometimes find it awkward to say I'm part of the team, do the I don't know why. It never sits well with me,
Mm,
but it's just a burden, when you have a burden, you carry it on going. So um yeah, I think I'm like, we thank God for the grace of God that I have never stepped that boundary. But for anyone who does, I always say you need to take a step back and understand why you were called in the first place. What was your call? Are you need to sometimes reflection. I reflect every single day, and I think that's where sometimes you have to be careful of overthinking. You need to reflect and aware of, is what I'm doing going according to what God's called me to do? Is it aligned to what He's called me to do? If it's not aligned, then you are doing out of a fleshly desire of you wanting something to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, you get frustrated, but it wasn't what God wanted to do in the first place. So
yeah,
sometimes as leaders, it's good to retreat. It's good to go back. Even Jesus went up 40 day, 40 night. He got attacked, yeah, but he went up. He said,
amazing.
I need some time.
Amazing.
Sometimes you need to go back and really rethink of why you were called in the first place. And I think
Amazing.
also having the right, so I have one of the deaconesses, I have a great relationship with her, and sometimes when I feel overwhelmed with ministry, I speak to her and she says, Lois, you need to go back to your closet and pray and spend time with God, because we can do all this and
Mm,
sometimes it won't matter.
Mm,
yes, it won't matter if you goes out of it. It's about your relationship with God.
mm,
That's the key. And because you have a great foundation and relationship with God, He will build you up on those things. He will push you to where it needs to go. So for me, that's what I'll say is that if you are in that situation, just be like, God, I need to retreat. Speak to your leaders. I think every leader's gone through it, so they should understand
yes.
and just be like, go back if he needs to take a week or a month to really spend time with God, then do it. It doesn't mean you're still not actively involved in church, just that you're not as active as how you used to be, so they can understand what God is telling you. Because sometimes God could change the path of where you're going, but you're missing it because
Mm.
you're so in the physical sense. So that's what I would say, really. I hope
That's
that's actually good
amazing.
advice.
No, 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 you answered the question. That's really good, and I'm sure it'll help someone out there because you're so right. You're so right. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Lois. Sorry, this brings us to the end. Thank you so much for an amazing
God
testimony,
bless you. Thank you so much as
Deacon
well.
Lois.
God bless you.
No, I really do. I really do hope that whoever listens to this, it blesses them and it touches them.
Um,
And I just want to thank God for your life, Lois. I am so
um,
excited for what He's doing. I'm so excited to see where He's taking you, even like where you are right now. Like it's amazing, and I can't wait to see what else He's got in store for you. God bless you so
Amen. God
much.
bless you too.
And
God bless
where
you.
can we find you? To maybe I want to join Travel for Telford, maybe I want to come down. How can I get in contact with you?
I'm on Instagram. I'm not as a social person as how I used to be, but just type in my name, Lois, Lois, Fiano. Type in on Instagram, it'll pop up.
Find you.
And then you can reach me out there.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to you're struggling in ministry, struggling in your relationship with God, I've been there. I'm still, going through at times, and we're there to help one another out. So you can always reach out to me. I'm friendly, so yeah.
She is friendly, guys. I can attest to that. She is lovely. And if you like Ghanaian food, I suggest, get close to her because her mom's got you.
My
But
mom will hook you up, don't worry.
shout out to Lois's mom. I know I've already shouted her out before, but honestly, that woman is amazing.
Thank you so much. God bless you as well for
Amen.
doing this. I think it's needed to be shared, and God bless you and your
Thank you.
team and
Amen.
strengthen you and continue
Amen.
to
I
push you
receive
to
it.
new heights, new
Amen.
pathways, wherever he's taking you guys, to just be
Amen.
with you guys. But you guys
Amen.
are doing
Thank you
great.
so much. Thank you, love.